I love this. We're here with my friend Eddie Tafoya. And this is so much fun because you're a guy who started in news and then you went into academia at some point. I don't know exactly what career arc that took, but you went to academia, but you didn't just like study like Proust or something. No. You found some of the greats of maybe modern philosophy to study.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be the comedian. And you have found.
Oh, you're equating comedians with philosophers.
I think so.
I think there's a very strong connection there.
Right? Because these are the guys. I think I've always thought a good stand-up comedian, and I'm thinking about Gallagher.
Oh yeah, he's right there at the top of everybody's list. Yes. Smashing Fruit. That is philosophy.
A lot of these guys, you think about some of the greats, and they really are deep thinkers about a lot of the issues in society.
Absolutely.
And then, it blows my mind that they can think it deeply about these things and then put a punchline behind it.
Oh, yeah, and it's phenomenal what some of these people do.
Right.
In my first book, not this one, but my first book, I compare Richard Pryor and his 1983 performance film, Live on the Sunset Strip, to Dante's Inferno. And
that sounds like a leap. Like, take me through this, how you're thinking about this.
Well, Dante's Inferno is about this man's trip through hell.
Right.
Right? And it culminates with this confrontation with a demon.
Right.
And then he comes out the other end of the earth. And Live on the Sunset Strip is about this man's trip through really cocaine addiction. They call it freebase.
Right.
But basically it's crack cocaine.
Right.
And he goes through hell and he comes and he goes through all these trials and he comes face to face with a talking crack pipe, which is the voice of his own addiction, and he faces down with it.
Right.
And at the end he lights a match and he says, I heard this joke about Richard Pryor running down the street, but
how does one decide to study? Like we call you the comediologist.
Right.
How do you become that? How do you make that leap to studying comedy? Was it something that you found yourself either A, being funny and wanting to be more funny, or was it B, that you weren't funny and you want to know why you weren't funny?
Well, kind of both.
Yeah?
I'm funny, but I come from a family of people who are 100 times funnier than I am. My mom is a hoot. My older brother is a hoot. My son is a hoot. So I had to keep up with them, for one thing. But I used to listen to the Comedy Hour on KDEF when I was a kid. And that's where I first got exposed to Woody Allen and Jackie Mason and all these, Phyllis Diller, all these folks. And I just loved it. And then I live in Las Vegas, New Mexico. My son was going to school in Santa Fe, so I had to drive quite a bit between Las Vegas and Santa Fe. So I needed something I could study in the car.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can study comedy in the car. I can just put all these discs in my CD player. That's what we listen to.
Who was the greatest? Because in my mind, so many jokes are, once you hear the joke, it's not funny anymore. Once it's been done, it's kind of been done, right?
Right.
And so when you study comedy, can you listen to the same CD over and over again and still get something out of it?
It depends on the person. I can't listen to a Jamie Foxx CD and get something out of it over and over again. However, when I was writing my first book, I listened to these comedians over and over again. And three people I never got tired of were Richard Pryor,
of course,
Whoopi Goldberg, and Stephen Wright.
What do they all have in common?
They're brilliant.
Yeah?
There is depth to their comedy.
Right.
And one of the things that makes literature is that it opens up to all these different levels of interpretation. And I think their comedy does that.
Tell me more about this book. It's called Finding the Buddha, and this is it's your second book, right? Third book. Fourth book.
Yes.
Already 4 books?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this one, what's this one about? It's about a stand-up comic?
It's about this man I met years ago who was a genius. And
real person?
A real person.
Okay.
But I turned it into fiction. But this man explained to my I went to St. Pius High School here in Albuquerque, and we had this very erudite priest teaching us physics. And this section is actually in the book. And at 15 years old, the protagonist of this book, Mark Ladica, explained quantum physics to our teacher.
As a 15-year-old kid, he's
As
trying
a
to explain.
15-year-old kid.
So he was this outsized mind in high school.
And remains so. This is a man.
He's still around.
He's still around.
Can we get him on the show?
Probably, if you can find him.
Okay.
He's around. I don't think he's in Albuquerque. Last I heard, he's in San Francisco.
But you ended up putting him in the book and
The
basically
book is about
did he find the Buddha himself? Is that part of his journey?
I don't think so. I think he is the Buddha.
Oh. How do you... Now, that's a conversation we'll have to have later.
That's a whole other
That's a whole complete other conversation. But is the book funny? I know that we think of you as the comedian. We
Yes.
think of you as the comediologist. Is the book a comic novel?
I wouldn't say it's a comic novel. I'd say there's plenty of comedy in it because there are all these comedians in there.
Right.
And comedians tell jokes.
Right.
And if you're writing about comedians, the joke's got to be in there.
Right.
Right.
Did you write these jokes yourself, or are these jokes that you're like hearing comedians say?
I wrote the jokes myself.
Excellent.
They're all my jokes.
Well, we'll have you tell some of those in a little bit.
Sure.
All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes on the Morning Brew with friends. I want Puddles to come back and teach us that dance.
Yeah, I was practicing it back. In the
Oh,
room.
awesome. Well, we'll do that in a minute on the Morning Brew.
No, you don't want me.